Hello and welcome to episode 8, the final full episode of From the Hangar. And I don't know about you, but it feels like just yesterday that we were starting this podcast. And it just seems like this year has already flown by. So welcome to December. Welcome to a really fun episode. And I say that I think about every episode that I've been a part of. I think I say the words super excited about every single episode. But I am super excited about today's episode because I get to be alongside 3 of my coworkers and team members. Today's episode, we're going to be chatting a little bit about a project that's really close to my heart and really close to a lot of the people, hopefully all of us on camera or behind a mic, because this was a project that we were able to just kind of create from the ground up. We're talking about the Advent experience. And if this is your first time hearing about it, you're going to get the chance to learn a little bit about what it is, why we decided to do it, and what the purpose and our heart behind it is. And if you maybe already have one of the books, or maybe this is your second time purchasing it, you'll get to hear a little bit more of the backstory behind why we decided to do this project. So before I even get started, I want to introduce the 3 of these people and some of the people that actually are not behind a camera or behind a mic. And so over here, all the way furthest from me, is Amanda Charlton. Amanda is our project manager, gift shop coordinator. She makes a lot of things happen. And for this project specifically, she helped obviously with like the whole creation of this project, but also so many of the logistics of making sure that we have shipping tape and packing tape so that boxes look good, and all of the project management side of things of keeping me on track, which sometimes might not be the easiest thing in the world. And then on top of that, she helped resource all of the items and the gifts that we actually package within each of the boxes. And so we'll get a chance to hear from that. Next to her is Lem Malabuyo. Lem is our photographer, videographer here at headquarters, along with a person that's actually behind the cameras today, Colin. Normally behind the camera, but this time he gets a chance to be in front of it. And so he took some photos for us, did some videos for this project as well, along with Colin. And gets a chance to present this project in a really beautiful way that I think does a great job of explaining kind of the heart behind it. And then to my right is Natalie Holsten. Natalie is one of our writers on our communications team, and she resourced and fought with probably a lot of people to try to get 25 different devotional writers for this year, and that's on top of 25 from last year. On top of that, helped write a lot of the different content that we have, and some of the contemplate and the rest of the light things that we'll talk about more as we get into this episode. And before we even open it up to these 3, as they're all looking at me like, can we get going? I do want to highlight a couple of people that are not actually in front of a camera or behind a mic, because this project does not happen without a lot more people than just the 4 of us. So along with that, with Natalie, there are some writers on the team that helped make this project run. So Jen Wolf, Kim Van Veen, Diana Gibney helped with this. Kevin Mills helped with this. Brad Hoagland. We had some phenomenal writers that helped write content, and also 25 different staff members that helped make a devotional book actually a devotional book, and not you're not reading a devotion from me, which is a good thing. I already mentioned Colin Lorenz. Yikes, words are hard. And he is currently acting like he's going to come in front of the camera, but he was along with Lem in just helping make this project happen, making it show up. Photography and videography is just beautiful, making it just a great visual asset. And then we have some designers that are also a part of this team. So Justin Stryker and McKenna Castledine are 2 of our designers. And then we also had Stephanie Greenlee, who helped design this project. And the thing that I love about this project is that it's all custom. Like everything that you see is designed specifically with this project in mind, whether it's a font choice that we decided on, or in this case, we had ornaments and patterns. Those were all custom things that we had. On top of that, we had some directors that allowed us some free reign to make this project happen. So Tracy Worry and Brad Hoagland were really, really great and pretty instrumental in that. So with that, after a long introduction, I think the longest introduction I've had so far, thanks for being here, you guys. Thanks for coming to hang.
Yeah, thanks. And also, nice job on that introduction. That is the longest you've done on this podcast.
By a long shot. I mean, and you know this because you've been behind the camera, and you're probably sitting there like, goodness, keep it going.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool to be here. Thanks for having us kind of come on here and, I don't know, promote a product we put together. It sounds kind of weird to say it that way, but yeah, no, it's really cool.
Yeah, Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming to hang.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a little surreal, like now that it's done, because it, way back early this year when we started, it feels so huge. And how are we going to get there? And then it's really neat to see how everybody contributed. And now it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Amanda, I want to ask you, actually, we're just going to get it started off.
Go for it.
You, the three here, were all a part of the conception of this idea. Do you mind explaining just a little bit of like the heart behind why we decided to do an Advent at all? Like, we're an aviation nonprofit. Like, why did we decide to do this? If you don't mind me asking you,
Yeah.
I'm putting you on the
I feel
spot.
like on the marketing team, we're always thinking about how to further the ministry, and this really took like more of a step back of like, how can we bless our donors, and especially during a season where we're typically working on campaigns and fundraising, and just really bringing it back to how can we connect with people and provide them something that's really just focused on them becoming closer to Jesus. It wasn't for any benefit of any of us or our organization or anything, but really just to impact people's connection with Jesus specifically during this time of year.
I love that. I think you pointed out a really interesting point that I think is really important, and just the fact of like, we wanted to make it, like, we wanted to give somebody something, right? And we have such an incredible base of donors and supporters and just like genuine family and friends of MAF that like we're not trying to make money off of this project. We're not trying to make this massive profit by any means. We just wanted to hopefully bless people, and that does mean that they're giving us some money, but hopefully we're giving them something that's worth that money. So I love that. Lem, do you mind explaining actually how this project started? Because I say that because I think it was myself and Justin, and I think you were also a part of this because there was this coffee roaster called Onyx. Like, let's just get into it.
Okay, so Justin Stryker, who's the senior graphic designer, he's also a huge coffee evangelist, we could say, coffee connoisseur.
Cheers to that.
So there is this coffee roaster out in Arkansas called Onyx, and he loves that coffee. And they came out, it was like 2 years ago, they came out with a Advent calendar, like coffee-themed Advent calendar. And so he orders this thing, and it wasn't cheap. It was, it was, I saw the price on that thing, and I'm like, really, for coffee? But then you divide it out, and you think about each cup, and you're like, okay, that's actually not that bad. But anyway, it shows up, and he brings it into the office, and it's this pretty elegant box that you open up, and you go through each pocket, and it's very thought out, well designed. Everything about it was just incredible. So he's showing this to you and me, and who he has long since converted to also being coffee evangelists. So we all love coffee. And he shows this thing to us, and we're all blown away. And it made us realize that, what if we did this, but we turned people towards Jesus rather than towards coffee, right? What if we created something that was really thought out, really well planned, but was something that we could kind of just help people experience and elevate themselves closer to Jesus during a time when we're anticipating his coming, right? Whether that's looking back towards his birth or looking towards the future when he finally comes. So it's a season of anticipation, right? So how can we do this in a thoughtful way? And like Amanda said, like we are a group of creatives that just really want to do this. And I remember when David Holsten, who would talk about the airplanes, right? Like, we are all about aviation, but ultimately it's a tool to bring people closer to Jesus. And so we all have a skill set. We all have tools to help talk about MAF. But what if we use that as a way to talk about Jesus in a really thoughtful way? And so I think that was kind of what got the ball rolling on what if we seriously did this? Like, we created an Advent experience with the marketing team and the communications team to create something really, really elegant for people to understand and use during the Advent season. So,
yeah, I love that. It's so fun to like revisit like the whole purpose of this project, right? This is our second year in doing it. And to go back to like that beginning stages and, Natalie, I'm going to put you on the spot because you may not remember this, but, we do a creative meeting every other Friday. And at one of the creative meetings, I want to say it was in middle of December, maybe early January, we're sitting at another local coffee shop because we have a problem. But I brought up this idea because Lem and Justin and I were all chatting about this, and I brought up this idea of an Advent, and I want to say you and Janelle, who is a former writer on our team that was massive in our first year, you guys both kind of looked at me and was like, I love that idea. I don't know if you remember that at all. What about this project is something that you're like, absolutely, that's something that we should be doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love Christmas. I love Advent. I love things that can help guide you, because like somebody said already, like Christmas can just be chaotic and busy, and to have something to kind of help, focus your attention on Christ as we go into that season. I love the idea of that. And I feel like, I think Janelle and I were just thinking, we've got people that we could tap to write. We serve in awesome places around the world where we could resource some gifts. And it was easy to get excited about this idea for sure.
Yeah. Just a little backstory on this whole process. One of the things that we really wanted to do and integrate into this project is some MAF culture. And so a handful of years ago, we started actually doing something called First Day. And it's essentially a space for staff every first working Wednesday of the month to be able to take a step back. And there's some structure to it. So it's a kind of a corporate Sabbath, if you will. There's a time where we get to hear from speakers or hear kind of like a chapel or a sermon, depending on the month, I guess. On top of that, there's a lot of community building and times that we can just be together with coworkers. And part of that structure actually comes from other places, but there's a structure of these four kind of main themes of stop, contemplate, rest, and delight. And how do we stop before we kind of go into the studying of Jesus or the studying or you get the idea. I'm stumbling over words. And then you contemplate. So you read through scripture, you go through a study and you contemplate kind of what that means for the world as a whole, for your life as a whole, your spiritual formation. You rest in that as well. So you take a minute and you don't move on to the next thing. You stop and you actually like rest in that moment. So whether that's a prompt of a prayer or a prompt of 5 minutes of quiet time or whatever it is. And then you delight, because the Lord wants us to delight in things as well. And so one of the things that I love about this project is we get a chance to kind of bring that into this whole thing, right? And in the book, we actually last year went through a theme that was Contemplate, Rest, Delight, an Advent experience. It was the name of it, and we wanted to kind of introduce that piece of it. And this year we decided on going with the First Day theme of our year, which is Eyes on Jesus, and to bring it back to the reminder of everything that we do, we want to fix our eyes on Jesus, who's the author and perfecter of our faith. And I love that we get to bring that kind of a culture into also like this wonderful season of Advent. And I know that like you guys are all like Christmas people. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't be. I mean, I'm not a winter person by any means. And if you read any of the emails that I send you, you will be very aware that I like the summer. But you will also know that like, man, Christmas, how, as a believer, how can you not love Christmas? And so part of Christmas in the American culture is gifts, right? And that's not a shock. And part of children's Advent calendars, like one of the things that we wanted to like emulate was like this like popping out of a piece of candy and you count down to 25 days of Christmas. And so, Amanda, I'm going to bring you into this because one of the things that we do is find gifts, and we have those come out every week. And can you explain like how we decided on gifts this year and what those gifts, without ruining them, are and what the vibe of them are?
Yeah, this conversation is making me like reminisce to early 2022 of just like all the things that we talked through as a team of like, what does this look like and what audience are we writing to or creating this experience for? And And it's specifically bringing me back to the, like, this isn't just for families. This isn't just for children. This is for the young adult who's out on their own. This is for the widow. This is for the married couple. This is for the family with their children. I love that. I love, like, just going back to that, because now it's just like what we do, right? We love to create this experience each year. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, like, sweet for me to remember things that we really just, like, got together and brainstormed about. But an element of that was that delight and surprise of a gift. And yeah, I think traditionally we all know what that looks like. For a child, it's a little pop out chocolate, and for an adult, it's a book. And so merging that and creating something that was exciting for adults as well. We landed on doing a weekly gift. And so just incorporated what we do even with our gift shop, is we source a lot of gifts that come from different parts of the world, programs that we work in, where people who work there work with other ministries. So it's either, being made by a ministry, or we're purchasing it from the local market there just to support the community there. This year, something different we did was we reached into some restricted access countries to just give some variety. But yeah, we're super thoughtful about bringing a lot of ideas to the table and then fleshing them out. And we did that again this year. So you'll find a variety of different things, and they look different than last year. And next year, if we do another experience, they'll look different again. And yeah, I can't tell you what's in there, but every week we plan for families to open that box and be surprised at what we've found for this year.
Yeah.
I was just going to add, I've got two, like, I don't want to give anything away because maybe you haven't opened it yet, but one of the items was made here in our hangar. And I think that's super cool, made by MAF volunteers. And then the other thing that, I don't know, a story just from the resourcing part of things was from one of the restricted access countries. One of our staff members there, she had a ministry going that was helping women, but it was kind of dying out, and she was trying to think of how can I get it going again. And then our order came in right as she was just praying about, like, I don't know how to keep this going, and I really want to help these women. And then our order came for this item, and that really got it going again, and she was super encouraged by that. So it was just a neat way to be involved with these different partners we have in different countries. And just need to see how God is even using this Advent experience in somebody else's life in another country.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think when you think about, like, the Advent experience as a whole, and we call it an Advent experience because it's more than just a devotional book, and it's more than just a couple of gifts. Like, we really do hope that when you get the box, and that's not a shock that it's in a box, that's custom made, that Justin, I think he's probably at his home with, like, rulers and, like, cutting out pieces of cardboard. I mean, if you saw the like craft and that, like, commitment to excellence in building this box and then working with a company to actually make it made. But we want this, like, experience of, like, when you open up the flaps of the box and you get to see the book, how it's laid out, and this card that says, like, welcome to your Advent experience. Like, we want you to, like, be surprised. And I was talking to my wife about this. She has, I'm going to say, the toxic trait of looking up a concert set list before the concert. And some of you guys are like, oh yeah, I absolutely do that. Some of you guys are like, absolutely not. I'm an absolutely not kind of a person.
Wait. You probably never peeked at your Christmas gifts as a kid.
Oh no, 100% did that. Oh, absolutely. Whoa, there's a line. I'll cross that line. But we were talking about this a while ago because she was heading off to a concert, and I think that there's just something so beautiful about being surprised. And as adults, especially, like, we don't get an opportunity to really be surprised all that much. And we honestly kind of come up with, like, this intolerance to being surprised. And there's this, like, fear of, like, not knowing what's coming. And one of the things that I just absolutely love about this project is the surprises that you open up these little tabs that are hiding a gift under it. And if you want to open them up, maybe you already have, you get to see them all, but also hopefully you still get that same surprise of, like, I don't know what this is going to be, and I don't know what to expect here. All I know is that it's going to be good. And I love that about, like, the items, but then you get that backstory of a ministry was potentially saved for a little bit longer and supporting people a little bit longer, because we just happened to decide to do it from that country instead of a different program. And I will say for next year, I don't know what other programs we have on the list, because I think we've tapped out a lot of them, but we'll figure that out.
We got a
is the
running
moment
list of ideas.
that, as somebody who is not a gift peeker, that I realize some people have received their box and opened all the flaps. I'm
curious to know, like,
to that.
if people have, like, I mean, we know what they are because we've been working on it, but I'm like, would I have the restraint? I don't know. Like, I might just open them up and then close them up again.
I mean, it would be hard
like
not
the
to,
kid who
right?
punches out all the chocolate.
Oh, 100%. But then you're disappointed on like day 22 when you're like, man, I could really use a piece of chocolate. It's like, I ate it on day 1. Like, oh, man. Well, if you've ordered one, I would love to hear, like, if you just want to put in the comments, like,
Yeah, I opened them all.
Yeah, maybe I
I'm
opened them all, or
waiting.
maybe I didn't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you want to explain that about yourself, but what are you going to do? Or you can be somebody that rips off a box lid entirely. You know, it's just everybody experiences
part of
this
the
thing differently.
experience. Part of the experience. Nathan's talking
Shannon.
about my wife who opened up the lid on December 1st, opens it up, and then closes it, and then on December 2nd opens it up and then just like rips off the lid completely. He goes, yeah, I'm done reopening this. I'm just gonna leave it open and exposed for the rest of the month. And I'm like, okay.
And the ironic part is that you told me that, and then I went over to my parents' house, and my parents did the exact same thing. And I was
really?
like, you not understand how much effort this took to figure out this box.
I'll just say that as she was ripping it, like, she was ripping my heart.
Yeah, a
at the
little bit
same
of you
time.
rip as
Yeah,
well.
I was just, we did so much work on that box. And by we, I mean Justin.
Yeah, Justin did a great job. Natalie, part of the main challenges are the devotional book, right? And from the start, we said that we wanted this to be a space where our staff from all walks of life, whether they're at headquarters, whether they're alumni, whether they're spouses or on the field, have a chance to have a voice in this, because we wanted people to be able to share stories and to share their encouragement. And this year, you headed up that whole process of finding 25 different writers, editing those things, all of that. Can you just talk to me about that process? Because
Yes.
it's a lot.
Yeah, it was. It was really overwhelming at first. I thought it would be perhaps not as hard as it ended up being. But thankfully, many of our staff write regular prayer letters. So we kind of already know, like, who perhaps has a way with words or seems to include good stories or whatever in their newsletter. So that helps us to kind of identify who might enjoy writing a devotional. And so, but we definitely wanted to be intentional about getting a cross section of MAF. So men, women, staff who serve on the field, staff at headquarters. We've got pilots, mechanics, teachers, moms, we've got the gamut. And then also some of our national staff. That's people who live and are from the countries where we serve. So we've got Mozambique represented, Indonesia, different countries like that. So, some people, we would ask, would you want to be a writer this year? And, just because of time or whatever reason, they couldn't do it. So it did take some time to kind of finally hone down those 25 writers. And then, we gave each person a theme, and a scripture to write from. And then it was, quite a process to get those first drafts back and then start editing, because that's just painful sometimes the writing was great, but like just, the back and forth with like, are you okay with this? Like, to make it, readable. And we had a word limit. That can be a challenge too, is trying to keep it within a word limit. But I will say there are some of these devotionals are funny. I feel like it's just the gamut of emotions from, humor to fear to anxiety to joy, like, and all of them point to Jesus. And that's what I love about them. And 24 of the writers are new this year, weren't in last year's book. We had one repeat writer, and that was Annabelle Coer, which, if you're familiar with her story, she and Ryan, so she wrote it while he was still incarcerated in Mozambique. So, and I'm probably not supposed to have favorites, but hers is one of my favorites. It's just so, it's very moving. So yeah, it was really, it was intimidating, overwhelming at times, but such a neat process to go through and get to know some of our staff in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I want to just highlight about this whole project and about the team that makes this happen, we get this project started in January, and it's a long-winded process. And the first year that we started in January, and it went all the way through up until we were packing in November the boxes and shipping them out. And again, that will be probably about the same this year as well. And so yeah, when Natalie's talking about like Annabelle's writing a devotion when Ryan is still incarcerated, which he's no longer incarcerated, it just shows like the commitment for this team. There's a lot of really hard work that's done, and in very like kind of phases. Like at sometimes it's really heavy for one person, and then once that person's load lightens, it gets heavy for the next person. And the fact that I'm bragging, this is an MAF podcast, sue me, I'm going to brag about the team, but the fact that this team does that on top of all of the other business and all of the other fundraising that we have to do, and writing that we have to do, and videos and photos, and all of the gift shop sourcing that you have to do on top of getting these gifts. Like, I just want to highlight this team and the people that are obviously not represented on screen or behind the mic as well, because this is not an easy project by any means. And
yeah, it's hard to think about Christmas in July, but sometimes if I would sit down to edit, I'm like, all right, I need the Christmas music. Like, I need to get in the mood.
I think I did that actually, like one of the first meetings that we did last year, and it was like January or February. So at this point, we're tapped on Christmas music, right? Like the last thing we want to hear is like Mariah Carey, which I think I did start with that. It's a classic. But the last thing you want to hear,
defend her.
yeah, I think. But yeah, like just to start thinking about Christmas when it's May and you're excited about spring and summer, and psych, I'm going to put you into winter because that's where we need to be. And so, Lem, I want to go to you because taking photos and videos for this project is something that often I think can be overlooked because it's not necessarily as prevalent throughout the whole process, right? Like a lot of it is more on the marketing side so that people understand what they're getting. And that's very different from the normal photos that you take. You're normally, if you're on the field, you're taking photos of people and airplanes and the work that's being done. Yeah. Can you explain just your process of like going product photography instead of people photography?
Yeah, it's very different. It's very different where, I'm doing a lot of running and gunning out in the field and kind of just accepting the elements as they are, where when you photograph studio stuff, you have the control, right? So things will look a lot more clean. You can do a lot more. So we kind of like talked about like doing product photography with these items and the box too. So it was a lot of, well, what can we photograph? What should we not photograph? And so you won't see a lot of the actual items, obviously, because we don't want to give it out of the way. But I think a lot of this stuff is pre-planned, kind of waiting for the items to come in or waiting for that box to come in. And so what does that look like to plan something, and then once it comes in to just like go head on into it. So it's very backloaded, I would say. We're just sitting around waiting for these things to come in, and then I don't know, September, October comes in, and it's like, all right, let's go. We got like a month to get these shots. And so, but what we wanted to do is make something that looks really, I say the word elegant again, something that looks really enticing and to elevate those items to something that you really want. You look at the price tag of this box, in this Advent box, and it's not your affordable $15, $20 thing, right? It's a little pricier, and that is, it's intentional in the sense that we wanted to make sure that what you pay for is something that we want to present something that looks like what you paid for. So with the photography, that we want things to look really, really clean and really, really nice and elegant. So, yeah,
I love that. I think that I feel like I say I love that a lot in this episode because I love this project, newsflash. But I think that, just the way that photos can enhance an experience, right? And the challenge of not showing everything, because we obviously have surprises in there, and we have things that we don't want to share with everybody. And so like to find that balance of what do you show and what do you not. I love that. You and Colin did a great job with that.
And then I didn't even mention video, but I think some of the video that we did for this too is not necessarily showing off product, but more showing off the emotion that this can evoke in someone who's going through the experience too. So yeah, me and Colin were talking about this. Like, what if we did some shots that was more like lifestyle, you know, like opening up the box. Opening up the box in these like really warm, really inviting environments that you find yourself in when during Christmas season, you know, which is also, you know, you talk about like doing this in May, or, you know, it's hard to think about that stuff when it's summer and, you know, it's 90 degrees outside and you're in short t-shirts. And but yeah, we want something that would do something like that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to open it up to all of you guys and answer however you want, whenever you want. What's been it's going to be 2-part question. So if you want to answer the first part first, that's great. Or if you want to do both, but what's been your favorite part of this project? And you can go back to last year, you can go to this year as well. And then also like, what's something that you've learned either about yourself or about the work that you do, or also we'll put it to like, what's something that you learned about like the Lord in this project as well? Because yeah, our eyes are hopefully on Jesus as we're making this project, as well as the people that are reading it. So yeah, what's been your favorite part, and what's been the thing that you've learned about yourself or your relationship with the Lord through this project?
Ooh, all right, I'm up. I would say some things that come to mind is just like in marketing, like a lot of things are just strategically rolled out on an annual calendar. And this just like really was off the map. It was just like something that we really dreamt up as a team. And then to be able to have the privilege to do it again this year has been great. I think like for me, one of my favorite things, like there's also an aspect of like creating that's like you dream it on a computer and as a group, but like when it comes, like when the product arrives, even sometimes it's like off the printer, it's just a totally different feeling. So like that's part of the experience for us, right? Is like dreaming something up that other people are going to receive and then like seeing it come to fruition. But probably my favorite thing was just being able to, we were able to last year send out a survey and to be able to look back through that and see like the full spectrum of impact is my favorite part. And I anticipate that God is working in people's lives in that way again this year. But, you know, we heard from a young couple who was just married and spending their first Christmas together, the impact of them going through it together. I can also remember an older gentleman who said he hadn't done anything for Advent in 56 years. So like two, you know, different ends. And then in the middle, I think of a family who said that it really like re-sparked a devotion time in their family that they just didn't even know was missing. And so like those like personal pieces that people shared with us, like, I mean, any one of those would have made it so worth it. So yeah, those are things that stick out to me.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what people say about this year's. Like, just naturally, there's like that expectant, like excitement, and like a little like nerve about like, oh man, I'm like so curious about like what the Lord is doing in people's lives. And yeah, the one where it was the family talking about how they haven't done devotions in years and years and years, and now that sparked them to do them every day, and now they're on to like, at that point we sent it out, and I think they're on like their second devotion or something with their family. And it's just like, that's
like transformation,
incredible.
like
Absolutely.
to think of like this as a tool that could spark something for someone or bring a couple together. That's pretty special.
Cool. Thanks, Amanda.
Cool.
Either one of you, it doesn't have to go in order by any means.
I'll go next. I'm going to piggyback off Amanda real quick on a little anecdote. So we did this in our own home as well. And like we were talking about, we all know what the items are, right? So it's not really a surprise to us, but it was a surprise for my kids and my wife. And when we got to, this was last year's, right? So we got to the item with the ornament, the star ornament. And I got home that day from work, and my second born, my son, he's like, "Dad, we got another item." And I was like, "Oh, so cool. What is it?" And he's like, "Come over to the tree." And he like points at it. He's like, "Dad, that star, it came from kids in Papua." And I was like, "Oh yeah, dude, it's so cool." And like, I think it was just really neat to experience someone else's first time kind of thing, and just how meaningful it was even to my little, 6-year-old boy at that time. He was really moved by those items and knowing the story behind them. And he's, like you said, he's 6 years old, so you wouldn't think that these things would be that meaningful, but he was really touched, and they kind of brought him to that island, to those kids, and I thought that was really neat. And then one of the things I really enjoyed about this is that I was able to tap into some things that were outside of the camera. And so last year, we, like, going into those meetings and not having anything to photograph yet, early in the year, and we were talking about who we're going to have write, and we're trying to figure all that stuff out. And I think after that first meeting about the writing aspect, I think I messaged you, Natalie, and I messaged Janelle and Jen. I was like, hey, if you guys still have room, I would love to be a writer. That is something that I think here at MAF, just being here at MAF has really made me really appreciate writing. And so trying to do that was something that I'd been challenging myself with. But the whole process of writing a devotional was something I've never done before. And it was really neat and really fun to do, and a little stressful because I couldn't think about what to write for the longest time. I think it was only until late July when I realized, like, God revealed to me what I should write about, and it was like an experience I had in Indonesia, or coming back from Indonesia, which was fun to look back on because I had stressed for months about what to write, and what I wrote about was something that was really special mid-year, and I didn't plan that, and I just had to wait till God really was speaking to me about what to write. But that experience was really, really cool, really fun to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thanks, Lem.
I think one of my favorite things was as we worked together on what kind of, what would the item be, where are these things going to come from, and we're trying to coordinate back and forth with the field, and then when the day comes when it gets delivered, it feels like Christmas, right? When we're like, oh my gosh, somebody just brought a suitcase full of, I don't want to say what it is, but we're like, oh, it's here. For some of these items, it took like several trips for them to actually make it to the U.S., which is kind of cool too, to get different people involved. And then from the writing side, like just to get to know these different writers in a different way and interact about something that was very important to them, their faith, and helping them, hone it, get it just right. It was more fun than I thought it would be. Like, I was really intimidated by that part of it, but then I've been a writer for a long time, but haven't done a whole lot of editing. So to work with the other writers on editing was, and to grow in that area was an unexpected benefit from this project. But I love just getting to know our staff in a different way and interact in a different way. Yeah.
It's been,
what about for you, Nathan?
Oh,
There we go.
Man, there's so much of this project that I have absolutely loved. And Amanda, you kind of touched on this a little bit of so much of our marketing world, and we're all on the marketing or communications teams. And so we're pretty strategic is the word that you use. And that's a great word. And about how we do things and when we do things. And this felt very much like a passion project for a lot of us. Like, I remember sitting in the first meeting room last year, and even bringing it back up into this year, and just the kind of excitement of like, we've never done this before. And even this year, it's like, we know we're going to be changing this. And so how do we do that? And so for me, it's actually kind of hard to pick out a favorite thing. I think the main thing that I've just loved watching this project is seeing how everything is so like perfectly woven together. And as somebody that doesn't do a whole lot of like the resourcing of the items, or the photography of the items, or the design, or the writing, like I haven't done any of that necessarily. I just kind of help and try to fit in where I can. To see just like the intentionality and the desire to make everything flow is like such a cool, rewarding experience for me, because I think so much about the end user, and in our case, it's that person that hasn't done a devotion in 56 years, and it makes me slightly emotional to think about that, of like the work that we are doing is a lot, and I don't want to like downplay that. Like, it's a lot of work to make this project happen, but also that work is so worth it for those people. And so I think honestly I ramble a lot, but I think the favorite thing for me has been the survey that we've gotten, and to go through and comb through all of the responses that we had, and to see the encouragement that people had, the items that I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be something that people like. And people are like, you have to do this every year. It's just been such a cool piece of that puzzle to just be, encouraging people to come closer to Jesus and to grow closer with their family and their friends, and for people to call their families up because they bought it for their whole family, and to do the devotion together over the phone has been, I just love seeing that, because I think that reminds me so much of like the work that we do is for people in isolation, but also for people here in the States. And that's a really unique piece of that puzzle. So yeah.
I want to take some time and just give a shout out to Nathan. You guys, we haven't mentioned it yet, but Nathan Jones was basically the project leader of this entire thing for the past 2 years. He's the one that led all the meetings. He's the one that kind of orchestrated how to put all this stuff together. He talks about weaving things. Nathan was the one that kind of was the one who knit all the threads together, So, I mean, you were an incredible person to lead this. I can't imagine this project being led by anyone else the past 2 years. You did a fantastic job. So,
Thanks, man.
I just want to give a shout out to you too.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Well, that's probably the amount of time that we're going to talk about this Advent experience. We could make this this podcast episode go for probably hours, honestly. The one thing that I just wish that you guys could see is like us in a meeting room at like the early part of this project, because A, there's so much conversation about like, do we go here? Do we go here? But B, it's hilarious. And we have, I think, so much fun in just some outlandish ideas and honing those things down, but also just the energy and the excitement of bringing this project together. And so, I don't know, maybe we'll have to like live stream one of those meetings just for kicks and gigs. Yeah. We're like pretty buttoned up. Like, I mean, Lem's wearing a button up right now. Like, we're all like sitting all like proper. And now if we were in that room, you'd be hearing Mariah Carey and people mad at me for singing that. So yeah, if you haven't purchased an Advent experience, I would assume that it's going to be probably too late at this point. I don't know if you want to be jumping in. I don't know how to tell you. Exclusivity is a good thing, right?
So we're not doing it next year too. So man, you
Really
missed out.
Wow.
That decision's been made. This is what you're getting actually normally. But this experience has been such a great thing, and we go into every year kind of reevaluating. And so I'm not going to say that we for sure are doing it next year, but I'm also not going to say that we're for sure not doing it next year. If you want one, or if you have one and you want to purchase another one next year, drop it in the comments. Tell us that you enjoy doing this, because that helps us also figure it out if you guys enjoy this as well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, listening, if you're on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else, as always, if you want to see the set, you got to see some of the work also being done. If you were watching at a certain point, there were people walking behind us and making this, because this is a working hangar, and we talk about that often. As always, make sure that you're following us on all of our social media, that you're subscribed to our YouTube, that you hit the bell for notifications. I have to say that. It's my job. And also, I hope that you enjoy these podcasts. And of course, if you have any feedback, send it over to social@maf.org. We're happy to look it through and figure out if there's a better way for us to do this podcast. Once again, I do want to just highlight this group of 3 here and so many others that made this project happen. It's been such a great project to be a part of, and really thrilled for you guys have purchased it, and disappointed for those that didn't purchase it. Sorry. I'm your host, Nathan. This is Natalie, Lem, and Amanda, and Colin behind the camera, because I've shouted him out a couple of times. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you on episode 9, or I guess it might be 8.5, whatever. We'll figure that out on From the Hangar. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.